I'm delighted to be joined by Jamie Brown from the Daily Hotspur. Jamie, we're going to talk about Man United game, obviously, today. Tottenham beating them 6-1. What a result for us. But we're also going to be talking about transfers. We are now 24 hours away until the end of the transfer window. So will Tottenham do any more business? But first, let's get on to the game today. Manchester United 1, Tottenham Hotspur 6. I just cannot believe every time I say that. What did you make of today's game?
I know, it was amazing, really, wasn't it? I think it was by far the best performance I think we've seen under Jose Mourinho. And obviously it was a weird start, wasn't it? With obviously the penalty very early on, but fantastic to turn it around. And there was just so many really inspiring performances all over the pitch today. I thought so many fantastic individual performances. I think that obviously, I'm sure we'll speak about them in a minute, but Kane and Son, again, they just look to be a completely different level this season. I think together they just seem to be so telepathic there, the partnership they have, and they were just incredible today. But everyone in that team was absolutely brilliant today. And what a win, to go into Old Trafford and win 6-2. I think that was the first time they'd conceded 4 goals in the first half. I think it was one of their heaviest defeats, Old Trafford, in the Premier League. Just incredible, wasn't it?
Jamie, you said 6-2.
Oh, sorry. Do you know what it is? I said off to Chris, I said, there's too many goals today. The Liverpool game as well, 6-1, sorry.
Jamie, when you think back, our last Premier League game, beating, the last Premier League away game, beating Southampton 5-2, scoring 5 there, scoring 6 today. We scored 7 on Thursday night against Maccabi Haifa. How on earth is someone like Gareth Bale going to come in this side when we're scoring all these goals?
I know, it's very, very exciting. And you already add you add one more forward of that quality to Kane and Son. That is really exciting proposition. I think if you look at the way that Harry Kane's developed his all-round game, he'd just be able to, the way he's able to pick out Son, and now you're going to have Gareth Bale the other side of him. I think that's going to just be cool. It does almost, for me, become probably the joint best front three in the league. I really do think it's that good. I think that, as I said, that Kane and Son have both completely developed their games. And then you're adding a guy who's gone and won 4 Champions League titles to that. So, yes, they've obviously last season they were fantastic. The front three in Liverpool, they won the title. But, you've got to look at that front three of ours now, and you've got to think that that's right up there. And certainly I think we've got to start believing that we can do some really big things this season.
Jamie, what's changed though? Because every single time now, every game I watch with Tottenham, we're going forward. It just looks like we're going to score. We just look so threatening, don't we, with Heung-min Son and Harry Kane? Yeah,
I think that those two obviously are a big help. And as I said, I really think that even this season, they've come a long way. Harry Kane's added the range of pass into his game, the all-rounder really now. Son, he just seems so intelligent with his runs, his finishing's fantastic. I think the other big thing as well is the midfield. I think that there's a really solid midfield now in place at Spurs. I think Ndombele was fantastic again today, and that's fantastic that he's kind of come through. And to have a player like that who can kind of bring the ball forward, who has that range of passing, I think that massively helps. So, I speak about the front three, but you also look at that midfield three. You've got Højbjerg, who was, for me, man of the match today. You've got Ndombele, who's hopefully going to get up to a position where he can play 90 minutes each week, but he's playing fantastically well. And then, of course, you've got Giovanni Lo Celso to come into the team. I think that definitely the midfield helps. And the other big thing as well is the fullbacks as well. Reguilon was outstanding today. Aurier has really surprised me. He was a guy I was kind of looking, maybe Spurs should look to move on, but he really turned a corner, and I thought he got forward fantastically well. So, look, there's so many players that are now stepping up, that are improved, that have just improved their game in general. So, in a way, it's no wonder that Spurs are now such a great attacking side.
That really is a great point, Jamie, because the competition now for places, some of these performances now, is fantastic. Ndombele, as you mentioned, I've given him a lot of stick over the last 12 months or so. He hasn't really pulled his weight in games, and looked very lazy. He's looked very tired. But this season, he looks a completely different player, doesn't he?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think we all knew that there was such a talented player in there, and it was really frustrating when he just didn't seem to have that application. He didn't want to seem to, like, he wanted to work hard. But look, again, it's Jose Mourinho. He's obviously given him that treatment where he's really tested him and made him work for it, and he just seems to have responded so well. So, you know, we see him doing it with Dele Alli at the moment, and Dele Alli, again, you know, he came on today. He obviously appeared during midweek, so lots of promising signs there. But yeah, Ndombele is just fantastic at the moment. I think just the way he moves on the ball, the way that the skills that he has, I think the passing ability is fantastic. And yeah, look, it's about, hopefully he can do it over 90 minutes now. Obviously, it is frustrating, and I know obviously there are plenty of supporters that are frustrated that it's taken so long. But you know, now he looks like a real valuable asset to Spurs.
It's funny though, Jamie, isn't it? Like a number of Tottenham fans, including myself, you look at the situation with Tanguy Ndombele, you look at the situation then with Dele Alli. We all kind of thought that the relationships weren't going to last with Jose Mourinho, and you know, one or two of those players would have gone out the door. But it looks like both are going to be at Tottenham, and both are going to be very, very good at Spurs in the future.
Yeah, well, look, I think that Dele Alli, he needed a new approach. I think that his problems weren't just under Jose Mourinho, and does it frustrate me when Jose Mourinho gets a lot of stick for the way that he's handled Dele. But look, Dele's obviously had a problem for a very long time. It went back to even Pochettino. So for me, it's not Jose Mourinho to blame. And he's kind of realised that. I think Jose Mourinho was one of the players that he was most excited to work with was Dele Alli. I think he kind of saw him as his Frank Lampard at Spurs, but I think he quickly realised, and as we saw in the documentary, he realised that Dele Alli wasn't going to be working hard enough, and there needed to be a change of approach from Jose Mourinho, and I think that he realised that he had to use that same approach that he did with Tanguy Ndombele. And yeah, look, obviously at United, he did it with Luke Shaw, he did it with Paul Pogba, and it didn't quite work. And I think that that's where Jose Mourinho will get a lot of stick from, and people will look at what he's done with Ndombele and look at what he's done with Dele and will criticise it. But look, Ndombele's responded. I believe that Dele Alli is now responding, because I think he's getting those opportunities now. I think he's going to stay at Spurs. But look, as I said, it needed a change of approach with Dele, because something just wasn't right. He wasn't giving the same performances as he was when he was at his very best. So yeah, look, I think it's all positive now. I think that Dele's looking like he's back in the fold, and Ndombele's certainly back in the fold as well.
Jamie, I wanted to mention new signing Sergio Reguilon, of course, from Real Madrid. Looks one hell of a player. Now, made his debut for Tottenham against Chelsea on Tuesday night. Of course, we go through to the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup. What a night that was. And then, of course, he makes his Premier League debut today, a 6-1 win against Manchester United. It's been a fantastic start for his Tottenham career, isn't it?
Yeah. He's just looks so confident as well. He just looks like he's been playing with us for a long time, and I think that's fantastic. And I think last year we obviously had a lot of frustrations with new signings when we had Ryan Sessegnon and Ndombele and Lo Celso all come in. They took a long time to hit the ground running, but you know, a lot of them now, you know, Højbjerg, Doherty, Reguilon, they've all come in and they all look like they've settled really quickly. And Reguilon, he just looks fantastic. I mean, the way that he can get forward is brilliant. I think there was obviously a bit of concern about him defensively in that first half against Chelsea, but I think you know, that was maybe because he was just so keen. He looked so keen and up for it, and he definitely looks like you know, everything about his game looks so exciting. And I'm sure, you know, at age 23, there's a very, very exciting player there. So I'm looking forward to seeing more of him, definitely.
You mentioned Pierre-Emerick Højbjerg's performance today, stating that he was your man of the match.
Yeah.
Jose Mourinho clearly wants to bring in leaders like Pierre-Emerick Højbjerg. It's only going to be a good thing for Tottenham for the future, isn't it?
Yeah, he looks exactly what Jose Mourinho wanted. I think that exactly as you mentioned with the leader, obviously captain of Southampton at 25 years old. He was a player of Bayern Munich. I know he's a guy that Pep Guardiola really rated, and it's something that Spurs really needed in that midfield. I think with Harry Winks and Moussa Sissoko, they just missed that guy that was willing to sit there and kind of do the defensive work. And Højbjerg, I mean, he covers so much ground. He covered so much ground today. You know, and then he's able to pass it off to the likes of Lo Celso and Ndombele to move it forward. And he just seems to be the perfect fit at the moment. it was, you know, that game against Everton, it was a real struggle for him. He looked slightly unfit, but now, I mean, you know, today he was absolutely outstanding. He was just everywhere. He was winning, making interceptions all the time. I think he got the assist for Sergio Aurier's goal. So I thought he was absolutely outstanding today. And for me, yeah, as I said, he was man of the match.
Jamie, one player who I've often criticised in the past, Eric Lamela. He's been at the club for, 7 years now. Never seems to take his chance. Mixed opinion of a lot of Tottenham fans. But, you know, Jose Mourinho said many times, we're a bunch of nice guys. Eric Lamela is not a nice guy. Today proved that.
Do you know what? It was interesting. I know a lot of people will look at that incident and think it was embarrassing the way he went down, but I think that's exactly what Jose Mourinho kind of spoke about in the documentary, where, you know, nice guys never win. You know, he was trying to get Martial sent off, and as much as it, you know, you don't like to see that as a football fan, as a Spurs fan, it changed the game. I mean, maybe we'd still, you know, there was definitely an argument that Spurs would have still gone on to win the game, regardless of the red card. But, you know, it made it a lot easier. And the way he reacted is, I think it definitely helped in the case of getting Martial sent off. So, as you know, whether you love it or hate it, definitely was a big factor for us. And I'm sure it's something that Jose Mourinho would have absolutely loved, you know, deep down. But yeah, I thought he did okay today. There's still times when he is very frustrating, where he seems like there's a pass on and he just doesn't seem to know quite when to release the ball. There's still frustrations about, obviously, his injuries. And then, of course, you know, he had to come off at half time because he was on a yellow card. So the discipline issues is still there. But I think he's a decent squad player. And, you know, I'm sure he'll be a valuable asset off the bench, or maybe in those lesser games. I think he'll still be kind of a good option.
Jamie, what has changed at Spurs, though, dramatically? Because, you know, we're scoring goals left, right and centre. We're looking very threatening going forward. When you think back to those last 9 Premier League games of last season, you know, take you back to, say, Bournemouth away, that 0-0 draw. We didn't even have a shot on target. It looked so... football was so bland. It was very boring. Jose Mourinho was, you know, it was very frustrating for the Tottenham fans. You know, some people were even saying Jose Mourinho out. Now, what has changed, you know, just a couple of months later?
Well, I certainly think that the new signings have helped. I think that's given the club a very big lift. I think that obviously Jose Mourinho will be delighted with what we've done. So his mood will be fantastic. And I think that there is just generally a really good mood around the club with how successful the window has been. You know, to bring in a player like Gareth Bale, I always said, I remember saying after the Everton game, it feels as though it needs a big lift from someone like a Gareth Bale coming into the club. I remember listening to Martin Keown speaking about an Arsenal player that came to the club. I can't remember who it is, and you know, we don't care about Arsenal, so. But he remembers the lift it gave the whole dressing room, and you feel as though Gareth Bale has really done that. I definitely think it's given the whole team a big lift. But a lot of them are just playing with so much confidence at the moment. I think that Harry Kane and Heung-min Son just seem to be so confident. You see the way that Kane knows, you know, the way he's passing at the moment, and the way he's able to pick out Heung-min Son, and the finishes that Sonny's doing as well. They just look so confident at the moment, and I think that is a really big factor. They just seem to be in a period where they are very confident, and confidence is a massive thing in football. I think that Dele Alli's maybe suffered from that a little bit in the opposite way, where his confidence has really taken a bit of a dip. But Harry Kane and Sonny, they just look so confident at the moment, and I think confidence for them is kind of allowed us to become such a good team.
It is an incredible pairing. It just looks so dangerous. And as you say, you know, a fantastic partnership. Now, I'm just looking at this scoreline here. Aston Villa 7, Liverpool 2. You know, some crazy results in the Premier League so far. You know, after Tottenham's result today, how excited are you? How excited are you for this season? Because can Tottenham finish in the top 4? Or indeed, you know, am I being absolutely crazy here and saying, can Tottenham now compete for the Premier League title?
Blimey. Look, a defeat like that is, I think, as much as I hate to say it, I think a defeat for Liverpool like that is massive, because that will really be a huge blow to their confidence. I think to lose 7-2 is just ridiculous. So they're definitely going to have that in the back of their minds. Of course, Man City, they drew with Leeds. Yes, Leeds are a good side, but of course the week before that they lost to Leicester. A heavy defeat to Leicester, of course, losing a heavy defeat to West Ham. But I think with looking at Spurs, there's definitely, the squad is now there. I think there's a very strong squad. I think there's options, as we said, on, look at the fullbacks, look at central midfield, the attacking options. The one thing that does worry me is how early we've started our season and the number of games. I think if maybe you look at Wolves last year, and I think that they kind of blew up towards the end, and that might be a slight concern for me. And then, of course, you've got the Thursday and Sunday factor with the Europa League. So I think that that's going to be a bit of a hindrance to us. So that for me, that's something to keep an eye on. How Spurs manage these Europa League games, having started their season so early. So that might be a concern. But if you look at the quality that we now have, you've got the one of the best attacking front threes in the Premier League. You've got an incredible midfield. You've, of course, now got some brilliant fullbacks. The central defensive options, I still feel as though we could do with maybe one more quality option. But look, there's talent all over that squad. And Jose Mourinho is, of course, the guy that we know. He's got an incredible record with trophies. And it will be, I think, if there's one man that you want to be guiding you through and managing these sort of situations, as I mentioned, with the Europa League, I think it's Jose Mourinho is the one guy that you'd want to kind of help you through this.
Jamie, a Chris Cowlin YouTube video wouldn't be complete if we didn't talk about trophies. Now, on Tuesday night, Tottenham, of course, beat Chelsea on penalties. We're now in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup against Stoke City. Surely, it's got to be Tottenham's year, and surely this is a fantastic opportunity for us to win a trophy.
It's massive. I mean, look, Stoke's definitely a favourable draw. I think that I don't want to get too carried away and say that we're already through that tie, because I think that will be a tricky tie. But look, it's definitely a tie that I think that we should look at on paper be getting through. And then, of course, you're in the semi-finals, and then you've got a really fantastic opportunity in that competition. So I am really excited for that. Yes, it might only be the League Cup, but I think that Spurs, as I've said previously, I think Spurs needed to get that trophy over the line, so they've got that belief in finals that they can go and do it. And then, of course, they've got the 12 years of no trophies, off their backs. So that would be a big thing. And then, of course, you've done it in January. I think that would definitely set us up for maybe a good finish to the season, a lot of confidence. So I think the Carabao Cup's definitely a competition that we can go and win. I think for me, the one competition that I'm looking at, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Spurs do, is the Europa League. I think you look at Jose Mourinho's record in it. Of course, he's won it twice. So that for me is the competition that I'm hoping to win the most, definitely this season.
Jamie, I noticed you used the word hope. Are you expecting Tottenham to win a trophy this season?
Do you know what? I think I am now. I think when you've got a manager like Jose Mourinho, I think that's the club have obviously gone in a direction of they want to get over the line now. They want to kind of move up to that next level. They don't want to be seen as a club that goes 12 years without a trophy. I think that they brought in Jose Mourinho to win trophies, and I think that is now the expectancy. As I said, I think with the talent that you've got in that squad, it's certainly capable of mounting some sort of title challenge. I think that it's certainly a team that's good enough to go very far into the Europa League, if not minimum the final. So for me, I think that it's now actually an expectancy at Spurs with all that quality you have. The manager with his 20 major trophies across his career. For me, actually, I think that's a good point. I think that now this season, it's kind of we are expecting to win that trophy.
One thing also to talk about, Jamie, is the fact that Jose Mourinho came in as Tottenham manager, replacing Mauricio Pochettino, obviously, in November. Hasn't even been at the club for a year. But Daniel Levy and the board have clearly backed him and backed him very well in this transfer window. Yeah,
I think that he's a manager that Daniel Levy, I think Jose Mourinho is a manager that he's always wanted. I think that he he'd obviously got that he'd got the stadium, he'd got the training grounds, and I think then to get that manager, I think it shows that Spurs are kind of now going in a different direction. I think they were building to a certain level, and of course they're in that new stadium now, so it's about kind of delivering on the pitch. And you know, you've got that world-class manager. You've not got a manager who's kind of looking to build towards the future. You've got a superstar manager, and I think that Gareth Bale, I think that's a similar sort of signing, and shows the direction the club are now moving in. You know, you look at maybe we're not looking at younger players anymore. We're really looking to become kind of like this superstar club. So it definitely shows that there is now a change in direction of this club. And yeah, it's fantastic the way that he's gone and backed him. I think that he's clearly a manager that Daniel Levy trusts. And as I said, he's really been back now. So, you know, that's why I think there is now an expectancy that Spurs can go and win trophies this season.
Jamie, it was over 15 months ago since Fernando Llorente left Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And then, of course, on Friday night, Spurs announced Carlos Vinicius signing on loan from Benfica. What did you make of this signing?
Yeah, I don't know a great deal about him. I know that obviously he's 6'3", so I think that certainly fills the kind of quota that Jose Mourinho was looking for. Kind of a guy that's slightly different to Harry Kane, that maybe can come off the bench and offer something different to Harry Kane. But look, he did have a fantastic record over in Portugal. I think he had combined goals and assists total of around 36, so that is quite impressive. But it's very interesting to see how he adapts to English football. Those numbers are very promising, but you know, we've seen plenty of times where, you know, look at Vincent Janssen. He obviously did fantastically well in Holland, but wasn't able to translate it across to English football. So, you know, as much as, yes, fantastic stats, but I think it's, you know, over time we'll have to wait and see whether he's able to adapt. But you know, it looks like he's fitting in quite well already. Obviously, he's got Lucas Moura there. He knows Jedson Fernandez from his time at Benfica. So hopefully he can settle in quite quickly. And of course, Jose Mourinho speaks Portuguese, the same language as him. So hopefully he's got all the stuff in place there to settle in nicely.
Jamie, whilst you've been supporting Spurs in your life, is this the best transfer window you've ever known?
I think by quite some distance. I think, you know, I remember Van der Vaart was a very big moment. And I think that was a real statement signing from the club, and there was a lot of excitement around that. But I think with everything in place now at the club, I think it makes it a lot more exciting. When you've got world-class training grounds, you've got world-class training facilities, you've already got the likes of Harry Kane, Heung-min Son in the team, you've got Jose Mourinho as the manager. I think adding those sort of players just makes it even more exciting, because you really feel as though there is now that potential. You know, there's always been that case under Pochettino where we were so close, but now it feels as though we've kind of added. I just can't believe the fact that we've gone and addressed pretty much every issue we had in the squads. We've gone and addressed both fullback issues. We got in the holding midfielder. We replaced Fernando Llorente finally. And then, of course, we got the big cherry on top in terms of Gareth Bale. So, I mean, it's been absolutely incredible. And fair play to Daniel Levy and the club for going to back Jose Mourinho. And, you know, I really hope for them as well, for Daniel Levy and the club, that they can have success as well, because they've absolutely smashed this transfer window. Hopefully, as you know, as we've seen, I think Doherty, Reguilon, Højbjerg have all shown that they're going to be able to adapt to playing under Jose Mourinho. So very, very excited to see what happens this season, because we've had a fantastic transfer window.
Jamie, the club are obviously doing something right, and of course, Jose Mourinho is now attracting all of these players. You take Gareth Bale, for instance. You know, he could want to, or should be wanting to, go and play for Champions League team. We're obviously playing the Europa League, so it is a really big step up attracting players like Gareth Bale now, isn't it?
It is amazing. I remember under Jose Mourinho, Manchester United, and I think that they were in the Europa League in his first year. And they managed to sign Ibrahimovic, Paul Pogba, and everyone in the media were all saying, look at Manchester United still being able to track these world-class players and manager, even when they don't have Champions League football. And yeah, I mean, it's just incredible that we've been able to get the likes of Reguilon, Bale, to take them away from a club like Real Madrid. And it shows you that kind of the direction we're going in. I know a lot of people kind of looked at that new stadium and thought, you know, yes, it's all well and good having this fantastic stadium, but if we're not delivering on the pitch. But I think one thing we're also seeing with this new stadium and the training facilities is how important a factor they are as well. Yes, Jose Mourinho, I think, does definitely play a part in bringing these players to the club. But, you know, you can't imagine these sort of players coming to Tottenham if we didn't have those facilities. So again, you know, yes, we've had to be quite patient in waiting for the factor of the new stadium to start delivering. But I think we're definitely starting to now see the benefits of that new stadium, because I really feel that's played a big factor in attracting the likes of Bale to the club.
Jamie, you're known as a transfer guru. You're always transfer, reporting and all these rumours day in, day out. Now, there is 24 hours left of this window. Now, it could be argued by a lot of Tottenham fans, it could be the absolutely perfect window for Tottenham if we sign a centre-back. Now, do you have any more news? What is the news on Milan Škriniar? Is this going to be happening?
I think it's a very difficult situation, because I think with Milan Škriniar, I think that Antonio Conte wanted to sell him. I think that Inter Milan were happy to sell him because they wanted to go and deliver Antonio Conte the players that he wanted. However, having said that, I do think that Inter Milan were slightly cautious, because Antonio Conte in the past is a manager who has clashed with, we saw it at Chelsea. He left halfway through this. He was obviously sacked at Chelsea, having clashed with the board. We even saw it this summer. He clashed with Inter Milan's board after the Europa League final defeat. So they know that he's a manager that could leave, and then Škriniar could suddenly become back into their plans. And at 25, he is one of the top 10 central defenders around Europe. So I think he was a guy that they were reluctant to lose. So if they were going to lose him, it was going to be for a lot of money. And I think for Spurs, I think the sort of £45 million is probably a bit too much for us at this stage. So it does seem as though that probably won't be a deal that's going to happen, unfortunately. I think that's something that Spurs really could have done with, just having that real top quality centre-back. I think we saw the impact that having Van Dijk had coming into Liverpool, and I'm not saying that Škriniar would have had exactly the same impact, but to have a guy that's that experienced and of that quality, I think if you look at maybe our central defensive options, I think it really could have done with maybe one more top quality centre-back. But unfortunately, I think he played for Inter Milan today against Lazio. So unfortunately, it doesn't look, for me at this stage, I can't see that deal happening, unfortunately. Maybe we might go and revisit it in January, but we have got 4 options. Yes, it's probably not ideal, the options that we have, and as I said, we could do with one more, but unfortunately, I don't think Škriniar will be coming in the next 24 hours, the last 24 hours of the window, unfortunately.
Jamie, what's your opinions on the rumours of Rudiger from Chelsea joining Spurs?
I'd rather have Carter Vickers playing. No, I can't see Rudiger coming to the club. I feel as though that's one where the agent's really pushing that story. I don't think that's. I think Spurs maybe have said, we might look at that option if we get really desperate. But I don't think that Spurs are in a position where they're really desperate for centre back. I think that it wasn't about adding quantity to the squads, because we've got four central defensive options. I think that it was about adding a central defender that was of really genuine top quality. And for me, Rudiger, I don't think he's a guy that's of that top quality. So for me, I would be completely against that signing. I definitely don't want Rudiger to be a Spurs player.
Is there any other rumours, Jamie? Any other players that we're meant to be talking to or looking at, or do you see any other deals being done incoming for Tottenham in the next 24 hours?
Well, I think this is the crazy thing. I think we're sat here and we're like, this is absolutely, the window's been absolutely sensational, because, as I said, we've pretty much addressed every issue we had. We've got both fullbacks, we've got the holding midfielder, we've got the striker. So you've really gone and got everything. So for me, the central defender was probably the last bit. That would have been like the main. That would have been fantastic if we'd have got that. I think that would have made it, an 11 out of 10 window if it wasn't already. But no, I can't see any other players coming into the club. I think there was sort of talk about another central midfielder maybe coming in, like a creative player. But I think when you've got someone like Gareth Bale, you've got that quality to come in, and a guy who can create chances like Bale can, and then you've got, of course, got Lo Celso and Ndombele. You've got those sort of creative talents. I don't think we'll see another central midfielder come in, but the centre back was probably the one that I would have thought might have come in, but I don't think we'll see that, unfortunately.
Jamie, any news on the likes of Danny Rose leaving Tottenham Hotspur? Because, of course, he's in his last year of his contract now at Spurs. Surely he doesn't want to be just sitting about, not playing at all.
Yeah, I think it's bad for the club as well, because I think that we want players now. I think Jose Mourinho spoke about it as well. He wanted to trim his squad down, and he wants players that are going to be pulling in the right direction. You don't want those sort of distractions like Danny Rose. Yeah, it just seems like no one's really after him. I think that maybe that Amazon documentary might not have done him too many favours in terms of what he came across. I think that did not portray him in a very good light. I think a lot of players got a lot of, their reputation would have been enhanced, but for Danny Rose, it was certainly not a very good look. And you can understand why there's not very much interest in him. I don't think he had a great loan at Newcastle. Of course, there was talk of it move to Italy, but that just hasn't materialised. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty crazy. I mean, it might be one that maybe Spurs look to move on for very cheap in January, or a guy that maybe they might just think, release him from his contract, because I think that he's you don't want that sort of distraction at Spurs. And it's such a shame the way it's ended for Danny Rose at Tottenham. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting situation to see how that develops. I mean, it would not surprise me if we were to release him from his contract.
Jamie, earlier today, Tottenham Hotspur Football Club announced that Juan Foyth signed a 3-year deal at Tottenham, and then now he's gone off on loan to Villarreal until the end of the season. What have you made of that deal?
I can understand. I definitely understand it. I mean, look, he's obviously not a guy that Jose Mourinho doesn't seem to like him. I think that the way he is as a central defender, he's just very risky, and he's obviously got an error in him. And I think that he needed to go away and play some football. And I think that in Spain, I think that's a league that will definitely suit him. I think that sort of slower pace and that kind of the way they like to play out from the back, I think that will certainly suit Juan Foyth's style. It is a shame for me, because you see that there is a very talented player in there. I think a lot of Spurs fans will look at it and think it's disappointing that Juan Foyth's leaving. I mean, we all understand, because there's just not opportunities for him to play. But I think for Juan Foyth, it's really about getting minutes under his belt, and he needs to go away and kind of develop. It would be a shame to see him leave, at the end of that deal. And, if he's happy to stay there and Villarreal are happy to make the move permanent, then it will happen. But yeah, look, I can understand it. I think that he needs to get away and play football. So it will be a great shame if we lose him. But I think at the end of the day, I think it's a good move for him. I think Villarreal will definitely suit him.
Jamie, any other news on players like Jack Clark going out on loan, or Cameron Carter-Vickers being sold? Any other news on any other players?
Yeah, I mean, I think the other one will be Paulo Gazzaniga as well. I think that since Joe Hart's arrived, I think it's been very clear that he's the number 2 choice now. So I think for Gazzaniga, I think as well his future was very closely tied to Pochettino. I think that they grew up in the same town in Argentina, so I think that was that connection there. So I think that we'll definitely see Gazzaniga leave. I mean, it's strange actually, because we haven't seen many departures from Spurs this summer. I think that's a bit of a surprise, and there's not really been much talk of where they might go either. I mean, obviously Juan Foyth has obviously gone to Villarreal. There was talk of Paulo Gazzaniga going to Fulham, but I think they signed Alfonso Areola from PSG, so that's very unlikely that will happen. So there doesn't seem to be many takers for Spurs, and that's been a frustration, I think, over the last few years. We've struggled to move some players on, and yeah, I think for Danny Rose, Paulo Gazzaniga, I think there aren't actually any options that I can see at the moment they don't seem to be getting linked to any clubs, which is obviously strange. I think that Gazzaniga, he's a decent keeper, but maybe you'd question whether he's good enough for Premier League football. So it'd be very interesting. Yeah, again, it's I can't see at the moment where they're going to end up.
So Jamie, are you telling me tomorrow I can just relax and it'll be a quiet day for Tottenham?
I know. Well, yeah. I mean, well, I think on transfer deadline. In fairness, on transfer deadline day, you can never be, as a Spurs fan with Daniel Levy in charge. You can never be too relaxed. I think he's always a guy that doesn't love a bit of late moves on deadline day. But I mean, look, it'd be fantastic if we could try and maybe make one last push for Škriniar. I mean, to go and win 6-1 at Old Trafford, you know, that really shows you where this team is moving and potentially where one more top quality centre back could take us. So, you know, if there was ever a present that Daniel Levy could give Jose Mourinho, I'd love it to be Milan Škriniar. But I think, as I said, it's got to be the right deal for Spurs. And I think that Inter Milan are a club that, as I said, they want to keep hold of him as the club, and they're going to ask for a lot of money. So it's got to be the right deal. But I can't see it happening, unfortunately, on deadline day.
Jamie, enjoy your day tomorrow. I know you'll be very busy tweeting like crazy.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining me, and come on, you Spurs.